everybody. Yankee and the Canuck Friday edition. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm opening up all the chat boards. I've got the Twitter one up, and let's see. I've got X Locals, YouTube, Twitch, all live. We're good. Rumble live. Listen, throw us a chat, drop us a message. Let's have some fun. It's Friday night. Hey, listen. I know a lot of socialist around the world like to call Trump a dictator. But I saw Carney today, Edward. I saw Carney today
Mm.
proposing to nationalize law over the provinces in Canada. And to me, that seems super dictatory. I hope he didn't
You
just
blanked out
block
on
it.
me. You froze on me.
Oh,
Uh,
I froze. Uh-oh. I
yeah.
saw you froze. So, okay, well, it might have been my problem, might have been yours. Well, what I was getting to is that a lot of socialists around the West call Trump a dictator. Oh, he's a
I know.
dictator.
Yeah.
But Carney is trying to nationalize laws and not give provinces the right, and that seems super dictatory to me.
Well, it is. And you know what? More on that is that all the provinces always acted independently. Well, just like the states. I mean, we have probably the same three uh, separate functions of government that tie us all together, plus, having a single monetary system, single army, navy, single Supreme Court. So we have, these three things tying us all together, but you can still have separate and different laws in each province. Not everyone, well, Quebec being a very good, distinct society, don't even get me going on that one. But many provinces have different laws, so it doesn't really matter. But trying to get everybody this conformity, this for, and he made it like, well, we're doing it for easy trade, so that we can trade provinces amongst ourselves, making supposedly faster and cheaper, which that's not the reason why he's doing it. We all know that. And basically, it's just one big communist country coming your way, and that's all there is to it. Because once we get into that and open that gate, you're not stopping the rest that's coming. And that's the shame of the whole thing that Canadians are not going to understand nor care about, because they just want to see the
Well,
first headline, and that's it.
well, do that. Is it a low information type of thing where Canadians would not, they just wouldn't have known that if this happens, you're literally taking away my province's right to
Yeah.
choose on whatever issue it is,
Yeah.
AI, gun control, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
to let the people of that province edict that as opposed to having it nationalized.
Yeah, and you know what? There's many things I wish our province. I live, of course, in southern Ontario, so our province should adopt quite a few of the laws, like in British Columbia, where you don't have to keep paying your ex-wife for like the rest of your life. 6 months, get your own job, get out. I love that law. So we should, but having everything being just communist right off the hop, which is what's going to happen. We're going to have fewer rights, fewer freedoms, but we'll all be united, which is stupid. And no one can see, well, low information. Did you just mention low information? Was that your
Low
catchword?
information, yes.
Yeah, well, that's a great catchword to use or phrase, because Canadians overall really are low information people. We don't really.
And this is not an insult. This is
No,
the,
no,
you just
I
don't,
know. Yeah,
you're never presented with the information.
correct. And that's
Like
fine.
if you
Like I
turn on the
said,
TV or you log into your social media account, which Canada mandates that Meta censor, so your Facebook, your Instagram, you're only getting one side of the story.
yeah,
That's what we mean by low information voter. You don't have all the information. You actually would have to go look for it. And a lot of you don't have time for it. You're
I
busy
know.
taking kids to soccer practice. You're busy going to work. You're busy mowing the lawn. This is
And
not an insult. This is a
correct.
real thing that
Yeah.
governments do to people.
outrunning the
And,
tax system was what we're busy doing, which we'll never ever do. And that's exactly why I got onto Mega Mission. Remember, because we're not getting all the information up here. I had to go south of the border to find out. You guys knew more about what was going on than we did, so that's why I had to, and that's where we met, years ago. And that's
oh, absolutely. And I hope that organization's doing well. The new one, right?
yep,
It's
yep,
Orange Podcast Bad. So,
uh-huh. But
but yeah, you make a valid point.
we had to do that because
MAGA Mission was bringing more news to the North than they could get because of the censorship
yeah,
in the North, and
and,
that's a problem.
it sure is. And we were getting, even X before it became bought out by Elon, you never got any information there either. Remember, they pretty much had everything closed down where, no information, well, unless if we were some left libtard. Yeah, then, it was go whatever direction they thought we should go in. But other than that, you weren't getting any real information. You were just getting all propaganda and go red team. That was about it. But yeah, so that was why it was such a helpful show or space you had there, and many more, thought the same way I did. But yeah, that was a great space you had there. But yeah, low information is correct, and it's too bad that we don't have other places to go. The average Canadian, because as you already know, our network news stations are paid off by the government, the same as CNN and MSNBC and the other
Yep.
clown networks you got going on there. The Clinton News Network is what my favorite name, because it was so true back then. Oh my God. Still laugh at that.
Man, did they shill for that guy or what? Like, I don't care how many interns he illegally banged.
Yeah.
Dude, he balanced the budget twice.
Uh, I didn't know it was twice. I think it was you that brought that to my attention. That I knew he did it once, but I didn't know he balanced the budget twice.
Because he was
And
so
I
this
think he had to. Didn't you tell me that the
yeah.
Republican Party made him?
During his term, there was a majority Republican Congress.
Yeah.
So he had no choice. He could either
Right.
veto it and look like the biggest ass in the world,
Right. Right.
or
Yeah.
sign it.
Yeah.
Like, so he didn't have a choice, and so just proves you can actually do things in a mixed government
Well, yeah.
where you have a president who is this party and a Congress who's that party.
I'm
It
not
doesn't
sure.
mean it has to be a stalemate.
Right, but I'm not sure that would have worked if it was Democrat in the control with the Republican president. I'm not sure that would have worked out so well because he wouldn't have cared. We wouldn't have even had that brought to our attention, given it a second thought, even. So I'm thinking, yeah, in that turn of events, as far as being the Republicans holding the fire to the feet of the president, yeah, but it never would have happened the other way around. So I'm not sure if we can actually say that or not. In that circumstance, yeah, it can work, but reversed, I don't think so. And I think we've pretty much seen that play out with what I call the auto pen president Biden, which you know we know he wasn't calling any shots. The guy could hardly string two words together, let alone make a decision on anything geopolitical going on. There's no way he could have done anything of value or of sense. So yeah, that was not him.
Yeah, listen. We could talk about these type of subjects all night long, but we had a chat last night.
Oh, were you?
We had a chat last night. It's Friday.
Oh,
Let's mix it up a little bit, right?
yeah.
And you've got this on the doom scroll. Is the first thing. So we were talking about basically energy, and there was a really good podcast that Tucker did. A very strange guy, not super social. He built his own car. And Tucker wants to buy one. But it gets 100 miles. It's diesel, and it gets 100 miles per gallon. And
I
he's
never
like,
heard of this.
yeah, it's on top. It's an episode available on Tucker Carlson Network.
Yeah.
I believe it's also posted over on X. If you go to Tucker Carlson's page,
What's this
he
guy's
doesn't.
name?
He
John
doesn't run his
DeLorean?
page. I'll have to look it up, but I was thinking about this today. And he goes, "So I have a 4-gallon tank in the car. It reduces weight, and I get 100 miles per gallon because right?
Four
Why
gallons.
would I carry the extra weight? So I can go 400 miles on a 4-gallon tank."
Yeah, there's basically every
It
car's based on that anyway. So yeah, uh,
right.
but still, why would you only put a 4 gallon tank in, regardless if it only?
It was the weight reduction. He was just going for
Well,
something purely, and he
all
gets
right,
like he said, like the performance, and he was able to. This was on Tucker. The episode's available. We're not going to play the episode. It's Tucker's work, not
all
our
right,
work.
all right.
But performance similar to a Porsche, so not
Okay,
as fast as a Tesla,
all
but
right.
very high performance diesel motor. And he chose diesel for a reason. He said it produces more energy more efficiently than a combustion engine like an ICE engine, a gas engine.
Well, yeah, because the octane. Didn't we talk about this octane ring, or not a late ring, but a line uh,
We
last?
haven't done it all live. We did it on a phone call.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's
So I
rip it
could
up.
I understand, because you know what? You don't need high revving engines with for diesel to begin with, and you can use lesser fuels. So diesel would be the thing to do. And with the technology we have today, with the advancements of all these different tools that you can use, yeah, I would definitely stick with diesel. And if you want to put additives in later on, go ahead and do that. You don't need to, and I'd say not to. Leave it as pure as possible, and leave it going around. And I don't even know what octane you possibly could even use. I think you get 20 to 30%. You're fine with the diesel. It doesn't take much, and yeah, you're off. So yeah, that's why I'm surprised we don't have more diesel. I know they're loud and smelly, and people don't really like that, and I get that, but and I don't.
That could also be corrected with technology too.
Sure, sure, could, yeah,
And you see, like, go look at a modern 2025 F-250, 7-liter diesel.
yeah, and throw
They're
that duck
quiet,
thing in the.
super quiet. They don't throw smut.
Well, I don't even care, because that doesn't harm anybody.
No,
But
it
throw the
doesn't.
BEF thing in the garbage.
That's what Grandma looks at and goes, "Look, see, global warming."
Well, yeah,
So if you
because
reduce that, it's just the that's the way people look at things,
yeah,
right?
but
They
then with
don't
that
get into the
thinking,
details like you or I. They are also low
yeah,
information, not
well,
an attack, not
no,
an
no,
attack.
true, because then you have to account for one small volcano going off, which is going to cause more pollution than 20 years of cars running. But people don't want to look at that, or a forest fire or something like. And that's why I say you can't have these countries being charged, with this climate agenda going on, and paying so much for carbon footprints. Because every country is going to be different. Some countries got more trees than others. So you can't ever have an even playing field the way it's impossible. They're idiots. These guys are nut bars, thinking that you can have some equality with this carbon tax they're talking. It's just not going to work. And the whole thing's a joke, anyways. And you and I know that, but the average person has no scientific background. They don't even know what an atom looks like, let alone any bonding agents that you can make to go along with that. So yeah, it's pointless even having the discussion. John Kerry's well, I'd like to sit down with that guy and talk some cunt, but he wouldn't do it anyways, because libtards never like to debate anybody they know they're going to get quashed, or squashed, I should say, from. And that's just why we don't have on TV today different parties or factions going at it, because they won't do it. They know they're outclassed, and the information they have is false, and they know they're pushing a false narrative, so they wouldn't dare sacrifice themselves in a live audience looking like an idiot, and then say, well, there goes that, throw that in the garbage, just carry on with what we had before. And here we find ourselves. So yeah. John Kerry, what a character. Still pushing that garbage.
Oh no, he's all like Jesus. How many millions has he made off this grift? It's incredible.
I know.
Uh,
The
uh,
greatest grifter ever.
could you? So in the movie, I think Back to the Future 3, Doc was burning trash as an accelerant to propel a car. Is that something that could ever be done?
Of course.
And that would
Yeah.
probably get into methane expulsion.
Well, we've been talking about that for decades now, using these old hydro stations as incinerators, and burning our garbage instead of trucking it like we do to Michigan, uh, truckloads and truckloads. Why don't we just burn it, and the heat coming off that used to turn the turbines and make the energy? We could do that, but they refuse to, because then we're back into this neutral position where you're not making any money burning garbage. And this is the problem. They're not making any money at it. There's no grift. There's no like we have these windmills. I mean, look at the money they made off windmills and solar panels. What a crime! And they're all junk. They don't produce very much, mind you. God forbid we get a hailstorm and destroy them, like it's happened in the States, in so many different states. Because you think those idiots would have made them for outdoor use, because where are they going to put them? Outdoors. Anyways, no, there's no common sense there, people.
Well,
It's just
I guess my question is, so hydrogen's easy to separate from oxygen. Let's get.
it is.
We'll be super scientific here, but hydrogen explodes. So the octane thing you were talking about, hydrogen explodes at a very fast rate.
Hmm.
Well, yes, we have vehicles that run on it. There's cars that run on hydrogen.
Well,
There
even
are public buses that run on hydrogen. There are
yeah,
Amazon trucks that run on hydrogen. But it's just the
you know,
problem is you either have to have a fueling station that is an outside facility, or you have to make the facility that you have it. Because I have some experience with hydrogen, explosion proof.
yeah.
Meaning it will self-contain the explosion and not blow up the neighborhood around
Oh
the
yeah.
filling station,
You get
right?
quite a big tank. You're running around with a hydrogen bomb. You
Do
don't.
you gotta make yeah,
And
and you
that's
gotta
why
make
I've always said, we just make it so it's a hydrogen on demand. So you're using it as fast as you're making it, which can be done quite easily.
oh
You're
easy,
not going to
yeah,
have.
yeah. The science is there. The
Yeah, oh yeah.
fuel is totally usable.
Uh-huh.
It's proven to work.
Yep.
The
All you
the
got to.
problem is safety. But you were talking about trash burning yesterday, and I was like, well,
Well,
why
yeah.
can't we bottle methane? It's a
Well,
totally burnable gas.
sure it is, but I'm just thinking, just burning the garbage for heat alone, and you can have that clean enough where you're not going to have any emissions to worry about. And you could do the same thing with coal. There are certain grades of coal that you almost have 98.9%, emissions or particles flowing around, where you're not going to have to worry about any big emissions call to worry about. So yeah, you can do that too, but nobody wants to, because there's no money in it. There's more money in shipping, I guess, than paying for it in other
Well,
ways.
but isn't it that didn't they get the same attack? Coal burning, they got the same attack that
Yeah, I
the
know.
cigarette companies got, right? That it's a
Mhm.
carcinogen, and there's
Well,
actually evidence to show that none of that's actually true.
I don't.
But
I
the
know.
governments they just didn't like it, or through persuasion have
Um,
gotten most people to quit smoking and to quit and to be against the creation of new clean coal electric generation plants. But
I
they
know.
also, at the same point, go, but we can't have nuclear because nuke bad, nuke bad.
There's
So
another thing,
we're only
and
going to go to wind power. Wind power is retarded.
I know. We all know that.
Retarded. Solar, I will make a good case for solar at some point in time because there's a case for it.
Yeah.
If you use the right equipment, which is photovoltaic, not solar panels, and you use a battery backup system. You
Well,
produce the energy during the day when everyone's at work,
yeah.
then you come home to your house and your battery's charged and it runs your house all night.
You do know that the photovoltaic cells you're talking about, most streetlights already run off that. Uh, So they're already being used. It's not solar, no, it's not. But it's close enough, that we could switch into something a little more. Well, that's not really even, that's like 30, 40-year-old technology. That's not even new. That's old stuff
Nope.
now. And so that's not even a new technology.
Well, yeah, and that's only they're only efficient at like 38% or something.
It's
But
free.
why aren't we looking at
I know.
just improving the technology? We're all bitching about how fast our internet speed is, and they work on how fast they improve that technology about every year. Why aren't we improving PV panels?
That I can't figure. But you know what? As far as the new technologies go today, and what they you just mentioned tobacco. I'm glad I don't smoke anymore. Because nicotine. And although that's not a bad drug per se, because it's in foods, a lot of it's in tomatoes and other things we eat all the time. It's not the nicotine; it's the other chemicals the governments forced the companies to put in their tobacco and papers, self-extinguishing type of things, and fire retardant, all that stuff they use on their clothing, which makes us sick even. But you know what? There's more things that we've done with our sciences that no one knows about. I mean, that's not what was killing us. And we talked about vaccinations before. And remember the big thing that they always hold over our heads is, well, the vaccinations help cure, I forget,
Polio.
polio. Yeah,
That was the one, right?
they always hit us in the face with that one. And
Which,
polio
which
was never.
there's evidence to show that might actually be true, but I don't have enough to bring you on that. But yeah, it's debatable. We can
Yeah,
admit it's debatable.
DDT, getting rid of that, and lead.
Measles,
That,
chicken pox, like in the 80s. If
yeah,
you if one of your friends had chicken pox, your mom made you go have a sleepover with them.
everybody's getting it. I remember
Right.
watching. I remember watching this show on the Brady Bunch. I'm going back to the
It
early.
was measles.
It was
Yes, on the
measles,
Brady
making fun.
Bunch.
And
Measles.
now, today, they're saying in Ontario a baby died because it got measles. And oh my God, can you believe it was a big joke? Now they're treating it like it's going to be some death-defying disease. If you get it and don't breathe here, oh, it's just the cartoons these liberal characters make up for us and I don't even know why people aren't laughing at them rather than taking them serious as they do. Again, the low information people that's around. It's incredible. And yet, these are the first people that call any other country, subpar or idiots. We'll even tell Americans like we're so much smarter than Americans. I have no idea where they got that because they're probably looking, like I said to you before, downtown Detroit on the outskirts, thinking, oh, they all live the same way. No, they don't, people. But that's the idiocies of Canadians thinking that. But yeah, look how long they held that secret from everybody about putting lead in fuel and how many people got lead poisoning. And that did a lot to people. That made everybody not only to drop IQ levels, but it made everybody sick slowly. Didn't
Well,
even
and I
know it.
was thinking about that because you opened my eyes up to that last night in a conversation we were having. And
Uh,
then I got into, well, they were using lead in paint too.
yeah,
And there was a lot of jokes made about, oh, you ate too many paint chips as a kid,
yeah, yeah,
referencing you're retarded.
yeah.
But no, I actually do want the. So you and I've had a conversation about it. I've watched some information you've sent me, but why? So our gasoline now is unleaded.
Right.
Why did they begin to put lead into combustion engines in the starting in the 1800s, but really through the 1940s before they decided, holy shit, we fucked up?
Well, yeah, but that goes back to 1920s. They were working on because Cadillac came with the first engine that could actually have more horsepower and run faster, loud as all hell, and some other things that was wrong with it. So that's why they hired that one guy, to do something, and make this better. And that's when they finally discovered if you put lead in the fuel, that'll take care of the higher compression engine, the anti-knock, piston slap, whatever you want to use
Yeah,
this.
piss and slap or
And the run
engine
on, when
knock.
you turn the
Yep.
key off, the thing was so boom, 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 still keep running for a few minutes because it just would not stop. But yeah, that was the whole magic of lead, putting it in fuels back in those days. absolutely poisonous. And they found out even the guy who invented and discovering adding it because it was such a cheap thing to add because lead's cheap and adding it to fuel, it was such an easy, it just stuck to it so much easier, just almost like magnets, just stuck to it so much easy for the molecules, the attraction. It was just cheap to do. It worked well, but it kills you. And they talked about that a long time ago as that lead. And everybody's taught that in the trades too. We joke about plumbers, being paydays Thursday, don't lick your fingers before lunch. But not licking your fingers before lunch got to do with the lead. You'll get lead poisoning and you'll die if licking your fingers, anywhere around your face or you're eating your sandwiches because that's lead poisoning again. So it
Sure.
wasn't just the joke as far as the sewage went, it was because of the lead poisoning. And we knew that from soldering, like in my trade, the same thing, so you knew not to do that. Or using aluminum foil or cookware for cooking in. That's another thing that we're not supposed to do because they said it made you go crazy in the old days. And I don't know what that means. Is that Alzheimer's that they're talking about? Like, what does that mean? I don't know, but that's just what the trade school teachers would tell you that back in the old days, it made you go crazy. So don't use aluminum when you cook, don't use aluminum pots and pans. But they make them and they still use them. I don't know why, but maybe that's one of the reasons or one of the things that's making us sick. I have no idea. But anyways, I'm
I think it's a never-ending issue to sell new merch. So
not,
you had the aluminum, but then you had the Teflon, and everyone goes, "Oh
yeah,
shit, people are getting sick from Teflon
yeah.
cooking pans." Like,
Uh,
what do we do here? Go back to cast iron.
what's wrong
That's
with cast iron and stainless steel?
nothing,
I like
nothing.
stainless steel. A little heavy, mind you, but I love it. You know.
Yeah, sure,
So is cast iron. And you know what? You can use them as weapons. You can bonk each other over the head with them if they're not listening to you. Yeah,
absolutely.
with a flat face. Yeah, you could pan face somebody with somebody. If somebody's intruding, you don't need a gun. Just get the cast iron
Well,
fire.
you could use it as a shield.
Yeah,
So if somebody breaks
I'll have
in, you're
two of
like,
them. Yeah, come
you're
and get
covering
me.
your vital organs with your 14-inch cast iron.
Yeah.
What the hell is Ethel? I watched a video on it, but I'm asking a serious question.
What's that?
Our viewers don't know what we talked about previous to set this show
Oh,
up.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
the hell is ethyl? Because it sounds like ethanol, it sounds like ethyl alcohol, and it's not any of those.
No, it's not.
But what the hell is ethyl?
Well, actually, that's a short form word for dictahydro. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a
There
short.
was a couple of hydrocarbons. I don't know their names.
What's that?
It was a couple of hydrocarbons. I don't know their names.
Yeah, it's and I don't know what it was now either. I know it's based off of the octanes and what I can't even remember the
Well,
name.
so there is no such thing as an octane. An octane is a unit of measurement for how compressible a fuel is, based off the information that I
It's actually
watched.
it's actually a strand. A molecule is in a single strand. That is, and yes, you're right in saying that there is a scale called I can't remember the name of it.
Octane.
What?
Octane, 98,
No, that's the
96.
octane. That's a real actual molecule. The combination of hydrocarbon. That is the octane. Your rating is what you're talking about. What was
Yeah,
that
the
scale?
rating. The
Yeah, I used for
rating is
radiation.
for a spark plug engine versus a diesel engine. Because I
Yeah.
did watch that thing you sent me,
Hmm.
and you want a real low octane for a diesel engine, which is a compression
Yeah.
engine versus a combustion engine where there's spark introduced, and
Ex-
that's where the engine knock you were talking about comes from.
Yeah.
If fuel is too combustible when compressed by a piston, then it sparks and you get the knock before
Yeah.
the spark plug ignites the fuel and the oxygen mixture,
Yeah.
right?
And then you get those crazy sound waves happening, which allows for that pissing knock. You get thumping. But did you notice how easy it was to ignite just under compression alone, in small amount of compression. The diesel fuel. Did you see when?
The diesel feels super clean.
Yeah, did you see
It's
how?
way cleaner than for
I
all of you
know,
listening than car gas.
and you don't even have to worry.
It's way like it is almost as refined as K1 kerosene, or some of you would call that jet fuel,
Right.
because jet fuel is a refinement, a little bit of a refinement of kerosene.
Mhm. And I'm not even sure now about NOx. I don't think there's a lot of NOx gases to worry about. I know there's some off of diesel, but I have no idea what kerosene produces for NOx. I've
Nothing. You
never
can burn
researched
it
that.
like people burn kerosene heaters in their homes vent free, no window open,
Yeah.
no
Mhm.
health issues.
Yes, it's got to be
It's a
pretty clean.
valid source of heating, for people that, listen, not everybody lives in a modern house. There's still
Right.
people here that live in houses, especially where I'm at, in houses that were built in the 17 or 1800s,
Yeah.
and they don't have a modern and yeah, so instead they took
Wow.
away
Where you
the
live,
wood,
you don't really need a.
the
Yeah,
wood,
you're not.
yeah, yeah, but people get chilly at night. So, burning a wood stove, or sorry, burning a fireplace, right?
Yeah.
All you're doing in that is inducting the heat that you're making straight up the chimney pipe. You're actually sucking
Pretty much. Yeah.
all the air out of your house and drawing in cold air through whatever
Uh,
leaks you have.
pretty much.
Whereas if you placed a kerosene heater in the middle of the room, you're actually heating.
Yeah, but you know what? You should be heating, and that's true. You're heating air, but you should be heating
Yes.
something else that radiates the heat and sticks. Because once you open a door or window, that warm air is gone. But if you're heating
Yeah.
something else, that you're still getting that radiation off of that. Where if you close the door and the window, you still have that hot surface or whatever it is you're heating. I don't care if it's a bunch
Wood
of rocks.
cast iron wood stove is probably the best
Yeah, there's
and
another
most
thing.
efficient.
Uh-huh. But having that kerosene heater under something like a bunch of rocks or something, bricks, I don't care, stone, something that is going to hold the heat, so that when you do open a door, the heat doesn't all go out and have to keep reheating the air again, because the radiation will do that for you. So that's a very efficient way of doing that. True. Uh,
Sure.
you know what? There's nothing wrong with the kerosene heater heating that way either. And try finding anybody that supplies kerosene. The last gas station I knew of where I lived was. Had one kerosene pump, and that's all gone now. They tore it down 'cause
Oh,
they don't use it.
wow. No, no, no. It's both in Indiana. I used to, because I ran a kerosene heater in Indiana. And there's a kerosene pump at most of the gas stations here in North Carolina.
Today?
Still available. No, it's like $4 a gallon, which is about $1.50 more than gasoline. But you can't burn gasoline in your house. You'll
No,
die.
no, you
You'll
can't.
die.
Yeah, you're right. There's way too many, way too many poisons off gassing from that, and they call it complete combustion, depending on how much oxygen you're getting to the gasoline. But yeah, that's yeah, with the carbon mon and the carbon dye and everything that comes off of that, yeah,
Right.
you're not going to last very long. So, but yeah, you just fall asleep and that'd be it. Done.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of a nice way to go, I guess. Peaceful. I don't know. No idea.
I look, yeah, I get it, but when I hopefully pass in my sleep someday,
Mm,
I hope it's not because of that. Right? It's like, just all of a sudden you're just feeling
yeah.
really loopy, and it's
That's right. I feel lightheaded. I don't know. I feel like I gotta go sleep, and so it's like freezing to death. The same thing. You're just gonna. Well, I'm just go to
basically.
sleep now. We just go to sleep, and that's it. You're done, and you're froze to death. That's exactly. Well, actually, there is some painful parts before that. Before you lose all feeling, because your fingertips and feet will start to freeze and burn and be very painful. But yeah, you'll actually eventually go numb, and you'll just fall asleep, and that's it. Life over. So yeah, there is some kind of nice, better ways, I guess, of dying. Naturally would be my favorite, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So no
I
one can tell. But yeah, so
I no, good point. I mean, new wars are sparking off all over the place. The
yeah.
world is unstable. So no, no, I get your point, and that's
By the
fair.
way, I can't believe how long they held that secret in about how much lead. was poisoning and killing people, and they covered up that for how many decades? I mean, we didn't really get to lead-free fuel till the 80s. I think it was like 1980, 81, around there. We finally got lead-free fuels, completely free of lead. Maybe it's a little bit later than that, but I'm thinking it was pretty close to that. And yeah,
That's
that's a long
that.
secret for like that's well over half a century of keeping a secret when you know you're
Well,
killing people.
that's a secret society. So, like,
Yeah,
you
like much
laid
like
it out really good.
vaccinations.
You laid it out really well last night. Like, laid out like so. I asked the question, why did we have to put lead in gasoline?
Yeah,
Because I had a
you
friend
know
who had a
now.
classic car,
Yeah.
and he still had to go buy lead from the auto parts store, to put in for like his specific motor. And that was fine. Nobody, we were
Probably
all
had a
just like, "Holy
flathead.
crap, that's cool." But that
Mhm.
was like because he can't buy leaded gasoline anymore. He
No.
has to buy lead as an additive.
However, you can buy octane boosts. I don't think that's going to do the same, though. It won't do the same. Pardon
It's
me. No, that's not going to do it because you
well,
still
you
need.
said lead literally was put in as a lubricant.
I don't know if you could call it a lubricant, but it does act as well. But that's not why they use it as a lubricant. I guess you could say it does kind of, in a way, lubricate the process, but it does take away the sound waves, from premature detonation. Because, like you say, how do you control, the burn from compression when you're up? The original engines were fine. If you wanted to go around with a Model T Ford going 15 miles an hour, great. Yeah, you can use that engine,
Yeah,
use plain
eight
gas,
horsepower,
great.
right?
Yeah,
Eight
but you.
horsepower. You're
That's right.
cruising.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
then Cadillac came out with a 40 horsepower engine, and they
Right.
had tons of engine knock.
Yeah. And run on. And the whole mess of, just because you've raised the
Well, and everyone
compression.
who had an old 80s model car has experienced engine run on
Yeah.
after you turn the key off. You're all familiar with this,
Oh yeah.
unless you were born later than that. So what we'll explain it as is you turn the car off, you get out of it, and it's still going get it on, get it on, get it on, get it on for like 2 minutes before it finally dies.
And you
And
know
you're
what?
looking back at it, you're telling it it's number one, and you're walking into your house.
No, you know what? Yeah, that's funny. But you could, by tuning up, eliminate a lot of that too. But sometimes, because when the wires and distributor cap get old, worn, the rotors, that's just going to happen because the lead's not going to. It's just not going to work as well or as efficiently, with a well tuned engine. But so there's that. But then you know what? You'd have to keep doing that a lot, just to keep up with the, run on condition and the anti knock. But you know what? I got to say, uh, 60, 70 years, the damage that did to us as a people, worldwide, just not here, everywhere, and holding that in as a secret. That's a corporation damage that they're doing knowingly to people like COVID and the vaccination shots. So this is no secret that when people say, "How can the government would never lie to us. They never would hold this stuff in, like that it didn't really work and that it's ineffective." They wouldn't do that, would they? Well, they've already done it before with lead gasoline. You dum dums. Of course they do it. The government knew. The EPA and all these other organs. They all knew it. So and here we are still eating the stuff and breathing it in. And getting sick. And that's where polio was supposed to have come from lead use. Quit taking lead in. You're going to get rid of. No, there is no vaccination that cured polio. That did not happen. Ever happen. That's a bunch of bull crap. And DDT was another thing that they took out. Saying how harmless that was, and that turned out to be anything but harmless. We all know Agent Orange, or DDT is Agent Orange. We know who used that in the wars. America and Canada. So yeah, well, that wasn't such a ineffective thing to do to humans when they're spraying them in the streets. Saying, "Oh, we can get rid of mosquitoes and spray everybody down with it." Look how innocent and
Look,
harmless this whole thing is.
so on that, DDT was also, if you remember, it was a biological, meaning alive, meaning organic, meaning a virus. Like in combination with all the other junk they put into it, like so DDT,
Uh-huh.
Agent Orange, also a virus. Like all of these things that we did, it was called. Everyone knew our age when the TV said, they said
TV.
chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Chemical warfare. We were releasing viruses. So this virus
Uh,
DDT
oh yeah.
was supposed to kill the mosquitoes, but it killed a lot of other shit too
Like us.
along the way,
I know.
including humans. And
Yeah.
this gets into biological weapons.
It definitely does. But
Yes.
yeah.
And the conversation that a lot of people have, especially over on X, when they do their spaces, is who are they testing it on? And a lot of people would say us, human beings. They're testing it on us
True.
to
Yeah.
build. They're not testing it to build the next virus. They're testing it to see if they can genetically identify certain select groups of humans that they can infect and not infect the rest. And I'm going to say it again. Can we? I know he has a pardon, but I don't care. Hey, Vladimir Putin, he's not pardoned in Russia. Can you prosecute Fauci for crimes against humanity, please?
He probably has already done that. He's probably started that.
Oh, I hope he has.
I don't think Fauci's going to Russia.
Fauci's the most evil person this planet has ever seen.
Well, yeah, I guess that's very true. But I wouldn't put Deborah Burks aside either. She's just as guilty, and some other ones too that supported the lies when they knew. Well, we could get into the COVID. You know, we're already done beating that dead
Yeah,
horse.
yeah. Well,
My whole
let's
point
just
was
in generalities. I'm just gonna look at so not just that one.
I was just
So we don't get nuked, but it
yeah,
goes all the way back to the AIDS virus. Anthony Fauci's been involved
yeah,
since 1980, all the way through. And listen, I don't care what you say. I want an investigation, and I believe he should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity.
me
He
too.
could at least be prosecuted for crimes against beagles.
Oh
All
yeah,
the stories are out there
where's all the
about the
human?
awful shit he directed his agency to do against
Mhm.
beagles.
Where's all these animal lovers today? They're not standing up against him for that. You'd think they would, but no. Animal cruelty. You know, they think, oh well, you know, they're making all these exceptions and excuses. I don't know why they are. You either are or you're not. So it just goes to show most of these people, you know, are full of crap. You know, when they're beating off about animal cruelty and shut up already and do something about it, but they won't. They got no backbone. But I was going to say before I got interrupted with that thought in my mind, I had to get that out. Sorry, because it's so true. Um, Going on about the vaccinations, I didn't even want to get into that. You know, I just brought that up because I just wanted to point out briefly that you know the government has lied bigly to us before, and
Yes.
deceived us and harmed us willfully and willingly even. So when people say, "Well, why would the government do that?" No, they would never. No, they're wrong. They don't know any history as far as that and other things. We mentioned them in the past before on the X basis, and I'm going to go back to I don't know when, but we've beat this horse already. So there's no point in even and people. It's going to have to be one of those things that's going to believe it and do the research and the reading themselves, or just ignore it and bury your head in the sand, which would most people do anyways, like an ostrich, and that's that. So I'm standing today as a conservative slash Republican, not a libtard liberal for sure. Uh, and just not because they got no reasoning. They're just so culture, so communistic, you know, in their thinking. Where we're more for freedom and independence of ourselves. We don't need to have a whole bunch of people hanging off us every second, you know, to live our lives. We just don't need to do what they do. If they don't have, you know, a cell phone or a phone, you know, they're going to go in withdrawal symptoms and go crazy, stupid. Where we can just walk. I could leave all my stuff behind. Hopefully, I could leave a cell phone behind, you know, never answer one again. I could just walk into a forest and live life and just be happy. I don't need to have all that stuff to be happy, you know, or anybody, raving or, you know, hanging all over you. Like I said earlier, just leave me the hell alone. I'll be fine. I'll be happy. But a lot of these people can't live that way. And I'm not antisocial. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I do like I do like my quiet time as well, more probably than I should probably like it, but I do. But yeah, that was not going to be my whole point with the COVID story that I didn't really want to get into because we know how
Yeah, no, we're moving
was.
past it. It was just I was making observations when you brought up Agent Orange
Yeah.
and how the government produces.
Mhm.
This isn't virus research; it's biological weapons.
Yeah.
Is what they're doing. Everybody knows it. I'm not saying anything wrong.
Well,
Uh,
and
that
I
that
think why I
and that we were supposed to stop that when the wall fell.
you know
Anthony
what?
Fauci didn't stop that
No.
when the wall fell in Berlin and the USSR died, and a very smaller, it's big, but smaller country, USSR, became Russia.
Yeah. And you know what? Why I know so much about that is because we're taught a lot about that in school because the Geneva Convention was written for and by against Canadians because Canadians were the ones to start using germ warfare in the First World Wars and the Second, and other things that we did that were against Geneva Convention rules. Canada was the first country to create and do all these commit these atrocities. So somebody had to, well, of course, the one world government, United Nations, came up with these. Actually, it was Geneva Convention that said, no, you cannot use germ warfare. You cannot, if somebody surrenders, you cannot just shoot them dead anyways. If they raise a white flag, or if they surrender to you, they're now
Right.
victims of or casualties of war and now captives. So you have to treat them accordingly. Canadians didn't do that. Canadians would just shoot them dead because they didn't want to feed them the extra food that they didn't have and the extra bullets they didn't care. We'll just shoot them dead and just leave them. We don't have to take care of them. That was the whole. That was why the Geneva Convention was written because of what Canada did. We were even launching grenades with. I don't know if you know what the sport lacrosse is. Lacrosse sticks because we couldn't throw them far enough; they were too heavy. So we put them in lacrosse sticks, the Indians, and we launch them from our trenches way over the other trenches because you could fling one far with a lacrosse.
Sure.
All kinds of, I guess you could say, devilish things that we did back in those days that they had to write rules for, saying you can't do that anymore, especially the germ warfare thing. And we were taught that we used to pee on rags, and hold them to our noses, to escape the mustard gas. Another thing, it's so many things that we did back in those days, and they think Canadians are nice, and maybe we were, but they always say, don't get us into a war because you'll be thinking twice, being the Mr. Nice Guy. I don't know how true that whole thing
I
is.
I love how the online crowd of Canadians, when they get mad at America or specifically Trump, they're like, "Remember, we burned down the White House," and I have to remind them that it was actually France and England and three of you Canucks.
And you know what?
Right?
They don't talk about burning down half of Toronto or New York back in that day. It was Little York before it was named Toronto. So it was kind of the tip for tat. No one talks about the second half of that story when America came over and burned down
Well,
half the city.
and it was
So no one
it
talks
was
about that.
like if you look at the history story, there was like six Canucks there that happened to be with the French and the English, who were trying to take back and colonize
We're talking 1812.
America. This isn't the War of 1812.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how the Canucks are like, we came down. No, you didn't. You happened to be with a big group of France and English army
More
that was
England.
there.
More
Uh,
England. Yeah.
Mostly England, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, mostly England.
obviously, the crown was trying to take back because they were still butthurt, and they were
Still
controlled
are
by
today,
King
Sean.
James III, son at the time. King
Yeah.
James III was still alive, but he was pretty much like Biden. He was just a walking ghost. So his son was running the kingdom, and his son
Yeah.
was butthurt that America had won in 1783 in the Revolution. So he's like, fuck it. I'm going to get France and I'm going to get Canada. I'm going to start another war with America. I'm taking those colonies back. And he
And they
lost
tried,
again.
but
So go ahead, Canada. Canada, listen, I love you guys. I want you to turn conservative. You were not the people who burnt down
No,
the White House. You
no.
happened to have like 5 people there when England did it.
Yeah, we didn't actually become, on our own. Well, the First World War, we definitely were. England got us into all kinds of different situations where, okay, guys, we're not over here. We need you guys to go over. Of course, we got the dirtiest jobs, but anyways, that was us.
Mm.
So yeah, but before that, no, it was all England and France. So don't let anybody kid you, and don't forget the rest of those stories. Yeah, the White House got burned down, and so did half of Toronto in America. So let's get the whole story, the tit for tat that happened back in those days that no one's talking about. I have to say that again and again because everybody seems to forget that it wasn't just one sided. So,
Well,
and
in the War of 1812, to be historically accurate, because Canada, and they still are, but was a British colony, they were forced into participation in
yeah,
the war against the states,
we
who
still are
had
under.
become independent from the crown.
You do know that we're not independent from the crown now, right? We're still under the
I
crown.
do
We're
know
still under,
that, but a lot of people
oh,
don't.
all right. Well, I thought because most people would say that Canadians have our own constitution and we're just all on our own. Like there's this
You
entity on our
have
own
no
that nobody's
independent.
ever going to invade us because they know better for some reason. With all our natural resources, no, they're just going to just stay at bay. No one's going to
which is
invade. Stupid,
which,
just stupid
which
people.
is hilarious to me. And you and I have had conversations about this.
In the past,
The
yeah, we have
Canadian,
talked about.
the
Yeah,
Canadian people, and God love them. This is not an attack. I'm just explaining things that, if people will listen to this, that are maybe low no voters that just don't know, it's a colony. It is a colony of Great Britain. It is under the king. Your king just literally opened up Parliament, and he did
yeah.
a really, really bad. I'm gonna get you, Donald. It was hilarious. It was awful, and so
I want to hear a
when you
response back from Trump, though. This isn't over yet. Remember, the king's had
ah
his say. Now let's.
he's not he's dude. It's never gonna happen.
He's
He
not
don't
biting.
care.
Not going to
He
bite
don't
on that.
care. He
All
don't
right.
care. He don't
Okay.
care. He don't
I
give a
still want.
crap.
I
He
still
don't
want it to
crap.
happen.
You know what he's gonna do? He'll troll, and he'll be like, "You guys could just be the 51st state."
Yeah. Well,
That's
we
what
might. We
Trump's
might
gonna
end up that.
do.
We might end up that way, even. So who knows? Like we could be the
We'll
51st state.
see.
So, and that wouldn't bother me a bit, by the way. How many times and how many countries has America said to any other country, "Well, come aboard, welcome aboard."
Well, but so the Albertan accounts I follow over. Oh, hey, he was on X. Hey, he was on X.
Eva's Eva's never on. What are you talking about?
No, hold on. Yep, she's in the chat group.
Oh wow! You should have told her to come on. You should have told her
Hey,
to come
Eva.
in. We would have had her in.
I would
Yes,
absolutely
from
let
our
her
old
in.
radio days. Yeah,
I can.
isn't that funny? Yeah, if she's available, yeah. See if you could bring her up and have her on. It'd be a laugh. Can she do it, Sean? Oh, you're muted. Your mic's off. Sean, did you mute yourself on purpose?
No, but I haven't gotten the
Oh,
new computer yet that I told you about. I'm also trying to
oh,
send the link. Yeah, we've only got a few minutes left, but
ah, wow.
uh, to,
Hey,
Eva, just in case she wants to jump in.
yeah, it'd be nice to see and talk with her again.
Absolutely. Well, and again, so let's go back to the war 1812 while I'm working on this.
No, I do not. I want to go watch what's going on now. And June 7th is a very important day today, by the way.
Oh yeah, I want to get into that. Hold on, I got it
Okay.
because I got to get some stuff lined up.
All right. Okay.
Um,
We had Juno Beach. You guys had, I forget what beach you guys landed on now. Omaha. I think it was Omaha Beach.
many of them.
Was it? Yeah. I can't remember what was what now. I just knew what ours was Juno Beach. And that's what we had to advance on, and we did. We met our objectives.
It was,
At
yeah, you
war.
guys, it was some of you, it was some of American troops, it was some of the French troops that did Juno. Americans took a
France.
couple, we're looking at a couple of beaches. The British, and let's not forget that they were there too. But we had to fight back against the total takeover of the world by Marxism. And
Yeah.
a violent, very violent takeover
Hmm.
is what was happening. And there's the stories like Dwight D. Eisenhower, General
Yeah.
Dwight D. Eisenhower. The speech, I don't have it, but the speech was incredible. He knew
MacArthur. Yeah. That. Yeah. Any of his?
Eisenhower. He knew he was literally sending people on D-Day, and they knew it too. They were going to die on those beaches, but we had to keep throwing bodies at it. The Americans and our allies had to keep throwing bodies at this until we started to conquer the land back. Because if not, the entire world would be speaking German.
Well,
And it was a two-front war. Don't forget, it was a two-front war.
oh yeah.
You had the Japanese. That's the Pearl Harbor. You remember the day that they woke the
Yeah.
sleeping giant, right?
Yeah.
And we America, with all of our friends, Canada included, had to fight back all of this. And you got to look at the way this happened, and we fought it back. And now look at the way the Muslims are trying to conquer the world. And you got to go, wait a minute. I know it's not the same thing because they don't have the technology.
No.
They're goat herders, but you got to look at, like, the Americans should take a stance on this. Like, if
They
you're,
might.
but
I don't know.
if you believe in Allah and you believe in jihad, you probably shouldn't be in the West.
I know that, and we've been saying that up here. What are you people even doing here? You already know you're not going to mix and mash with us as far as what a Canadian. Now, I shouldn't say that because I know lots of East Indians that are great Canadians. They just seem to just fall right into our whole way of living. And the newer ones today, I don't know if they're from a different part or what it is, but they have this, I don't know, like we are better than you people are because your government pays us money to be here. So therefore you are slaves, that type of attitude now because they're getting paid so handsomely from our tax dollars at work. And they just seem to think that they're all so deserving and better than us. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's definitely got to be taken care of. I was going to mention, though, talking about two-front war, remember Battle of Midway? You guys took huge losses. I mean, you won it. I know that. But the losses you took, from that behemoth of a war that was going on there. Wow.
You're going to hear this. I'm going to play this video to close this out.
All right.
The Midway was awful. It was an
brutal,
awful day for us. But so yeah. D-Day, Normandy, France. Hey, let's play this. Let's close it out. We're at the time.
Okay, go ahead.
Today we remember those who fell and we honor all who fought right here in Normandy.
We had over 100 feet of clear beach, maybe close to 200, before you could get any shelter. And the Germans was up on the hills bombarding us. For at least 10 feet, the water was just blood red. Bodies all over, even dropped the gate down on top of bodies. Couldn't help it. And there was quite a few injured that we still couldn't bring them back because we had to get manpower on the beach.
Nearly 2 hours in, unrelenting fire from these bluffs kept the Americans pinned down on the sand, now red with our heroes' blood.
And along the beach, the Germans had 33 machine guns, M42s. It fires 160 rounds per minute.
at least 10 feet. The water was just blood red. Bodies all over, even dropped the gate down on top of bodies. Couldn't help it. And there was quite a few injured that we still couldn't bring them back because we had to get manpower on the beach.
10,000 men shed their blood, and thousands sacrificed their lives for their brothers, for their countries, and for the survival of liberty.
He fell at my feet and he was crying, help me, help me, help me. Reached down and I squeezed his hand. I want him to know that he wasn't alone. And he died. He died. He was just a little boy.
May God bless our great veterans. May God bless our allies. May God bless the heroes of D-Day. And may God bless America.
So I want to give credit. This is not our video. This is from Billy Meme Team. You can see it in, across the watermark. But we do, even our friend Edward the Canuck from Canada, we look at this day as a somber day. And I'm going to be honest with you, Edward. We're going to run just a couple of minutes long. This is the greatest sacrifice that humans have made outside of Jesus Christ. They knew they were on D-Day. They knew exactly what was going to happen, and they knew most of them weren't going to come home. And it's the most incredible thing that the West has ever done to defeat communism.
Well, isn't that, when you talk about Christianity right there, isn't that one of the things that no man has greater love than laying down your life for another? I mean, isn't that, really what they were doing anyways for our freedoms, as Trump put it so eloquently during that whole speech, giving in their lives for an extended liberties that America and Canada has today. I mean, we have a nice day at the beach because they had their day at the beach, and it was not a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we hit the mark. We gotta go.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it was a good ending anyway. That was great. Put that there. Love that.
Oh, everybody can still hear you talking over the song. I had a great time having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
I just had to think that Trump did a great job there. I like what he did. It did look great.
I wonder what the guys over at South Park are going to talk about tonight. For those who have cable TV or the South Park.
Did you say South Park?